Okay, what's up everybody? It's been a while, but welcome back to Tales from the Taro Patch. I have a very special guest. I'll let her introduce herself.
What? Aloha everybody, my name is Ilima. I'm from Oahu Island. I grew up in Nuʻuanu Valley. Happy to be here. I'm like, what am I supposed to say? What do I do? I don't know.
I was gonna probably say like 5-time champ, Bellator, Hammer,
former champ. Yeah, my past life, I was a professional fighter.
Yeah.
And I'm in like a transitional chapter now, trying to figure out what I'm gonna do, and also kind of in between. I currently live in the continent in San Diego, but I'm trying to come back home. So
Cherry.
yeah, that's who I am.
So my first question I like to ask everybody, just to get like a feel of the environment that raised them, is where are you from and what was it like for you growing up?
Cool. Okay, so grew up in Nuʻuanu. I'm a townie, but super blessed to call Nuʻuanu my home, because I grew up right next to the Queen Ama Palace, the Queen Ama Summer Palace.
Yeah.
So literally the park was my backyard growing up.
Cherry.
Yeah, so I will always have a special connection with Nuʻuanu. And yeah, I grew up the baby of 6 kids. It was always a super busy household. We all played sports. We were all super busy. My dad was a teacher at Punahou, which is my alma mater, and my mom was a flight attendant for Aloha Airlines. And so yeah, we were just always on the go, playing sports year round. But yeah, it was really awesome being the baby. I always joke that I'm, the show Dinosaurs?
Yeah.
I'm gonna age myself right now, but yeah, the baby's like, I'm the baby, gotta love me. Yeah, that's me.
Going back to what you said your mom was a flight attendant for Aloha Airlines. I actually remember catching the last Aloha Airlines flight when I was a kid. And like when we came in to the airport, like there was like a news crew and like all the staff was crying and stuff.
Okay, so you were on my mom's flight then.
Oh, probably, yeah. I was just a little kid. It was from Big Island back to Oahu.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I remember that day so clearly because yeah, my mom she had flown, I think, from Oakland actually, and then they had a quick layover, and so when they got to one of the outer islands, I'm pretty sure it was Big Island, then they found out, because that was before the day of like cell phones and internet and everything, Wi-Fi, So when they landed in Big Island, then they found out, okay, like this, we're done. This is your last flight from Big Island to Oahu. And we all met her at the airport. We, like our whole family, we had leis for her. And it was so sad. It was so bittersweet, because that was what she was doing since she was like 20 years old. We grew up, we literally all grew up being Aloha Airlines kids. Yeah. And so yeah, it was super sad. We did, the news were there and everything, and mom was crying, and they popped their bottles on the last flight ever. And so yeah, but that was it was a good ride. We love Aloha Airlines. We love all our Aloha Airlines aunties, and lots of good memories.
Sick. And then also going back to Nuʻuanu, I know it's like technically town, but honestly I feel like it gets enough rain and it's green enough to where it's like you don't really feel like you're in town.
No, it was seriously I grew up in a little private paradise oasis. Whenever I would bring friends over, they always called it the treehouse because it was like so much jungle around our house that like it's hard to find something like that in town. And so they're like, oh, we didn't even know this existed. And the park, again, my backyard pretty much. I grew up running around the palace. That's my stomping grounds, but we never had any trick-or-treaters though, because we lived down a big driveway. Yeah, it's like in the brush. So never had trick-or-treaters. But people that would go to the park, they would always kind of like wander and they would find our house and be like, oh, we didn't even know this was down here. Yeah.
Classic. So being the youngest, what kind of kid would you say you were growing up?
I was definitely different from my sisters. My sisters, they were all like your typical girls. Like they were all athletes, but I for sure was the most tomboy. And I always attribute it to my brother because I have an older brother. He was the oldest one of us, but we're actually 20 years different of age. And when I was born, my brother had just come back home from the military. He was in the army. So he basically watched me while mom and dad would go to work. And he raised me, and he is super like mountain man, outdoorsy hunter, like
granola,
all the things. So yeah, he I always attributed my more rougher on the edges side of me to him. Like he raised me like a little boy.
Like a little brother.
So I think they knew that I was gonna get into something. I always like to wrestle and just like do rough stuff and go hunting with him.
So did you go to Punahou your whole life?
I did, yes. I'm a 13 plus Punahou baby.
Crazy. I used to go to a summer school program at Punahou called Pueo. Brad, I was honestly, like as a kid, I kind of was like, oh, I'm wasting my summers. But like looking back at it, like I'm so grateful I got to be a part of that, because like all of the cohort that I basically grew up with the same kids every summer, and like we all still talk to each other, and like I got to get high school credits, and like when I was in high school I kind of started slacking off, so like my Pueo credits
helped
saved my ass, bruh, and like basically it made me graduate on time. So Pueo is very if I can go back and give a talk, I will.
I honestly, like, despite people's predispositions about Punahou, myself included, like, it's a really amazing school. It's great. And I went there, I was on financial aid. I was a faculty brat. Like, my dad was a teacher there our whole lives, and so my sisters and I, we were blessed enough to be able to attend. But if it weren't for my dad being a teacher there, we probably wouldn't. I probably would have gone to Roosevelt. That was my district.
Yeah, but Punahou's campus is super cherry, and like the mo'olelo about the spring is so cool. And then the chapel is like whoop, right in the spring. Cherry. What was like one of your most memorable experiences in elementary?
In elementary, gosh, well, what grades does elementary go to?
Like K through 6.
Through 6, okay. I would say, honestly, the carnivals, Punahou carnivals were always my favorite, especially when you're little, because we get to have half day, and then I just remember always, like, as soon as we got out, then we would just, like, sprint down to the carnival grounds, and that was, like, the big thing for us. So I would say that, and then definitely, like, recess was always my jam. Like, I was always like super competitive in everything. So I would either be like playing foursquare, handball, football with the boys, but like even like when we would go on the seesaw, we would do this thing. It was like where like you have to like whack the seesaw as hard and try to basically buck the other person off. Knock the other person off. And I would be playing with all the older kids, and like I was just, everything was a competition to me. So recess was my shit.
Cherry. What would you say were like some of the main values that your family instilled into you growing up?
One of the main values was to never turn anybody away or turn them down if they need help. My parents were super, and they still are, like the most generous, compassionate people. And, you know, I think that's also not only, it's not only a blessing, but it's also a curse, because I think that they've been taken advantage of many times, you know, like they're just so giving that, like, yeah, they've been taken advantage of. But they always taught me, like, you know, we would rather try to help and that happened than like not help. And like, you know, so I still tease them all the time that they're like such enablers. but again, like I've kind of taken that lesson with me, that it's just like, you know what, if you get screwed over, you get screwed over. You tried, you didn't turn anybody away, and like it's fine. You're blessed. We're still blessed. You know?
Yeah. It just I feel like that shows more about their character than anything. Like,
my parents are amazing. Yeah, they're like my favorite people in the world.
Me. So after, I know we're like gonna take a fat jump, but like after school and everything, did you like kind of always know you wanted to be a fighter, or was it just like an opportunity that kind of like fell up into your lap? Or
it for sure fell up into my lap. It was like a total accident that I started fighting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've never, to this day, I've never been in a fight outside of
the ring.
Yeah, outside of the ring.
Me.
Like never been in a scrap, didn't even scrap with my siblings, like nothing.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I kind of, that's on my bucket list. I do want to fight outside on the street. Like, I'm waiting for the day that somebody like tries to start shit with me.
Yeah. Little do they know.
But yeah, it was super on accident. I actually was in college in San Diego. So yeah, a lot of people don't even know that I didn't start fighting until after college when I was in California.
Okay.
And it was purely because I just wanted to lose weight. And I walked into this MMA gym and was just like, let me take some classes and help me lose weight. And it just like went from there.
So like it was like exercise for you.
It was just exercise. Yeah. And it was super gnarly because I remember my first day, I couldn't even, like literally stretching was hard for me. I was so out of shape and it was very humbling, especially, you know, being a lifelong athlete that I was, and then not doing anything during college, getting again like super out of shape, and then not even being able to like freaking crawl on the ground without having to take a break. I was like, oh, this sucks. But yeah, so I guess I just had a knack for fighting and getting hit, taking a punch, and my wrestling foundation, I did wrestle in high school. So that definitely was like a solid foundation for me to have and tap into as I started doing MMA.
Yeah, okay, solid. What early challenges did you face as a woman in such a male-dominated sport?
The early challenges that I face, and you know, still to this day, this is kind of true, but like, dating sucks. Like when you're a woman in a super masculine career, and your dating life just like sucks. It's hard. Guys are intimidated, I guess, by that, or like a lot of them are like, oh yeah, I want to date a fighter or whatever, and then they date us and they realize like, oh shit, these girls are kind of nuts. It's a little rough for sure, and especially because for the girls who are looking for masculine partners, like we want to be made to feel like feminine, because we're like
so alpha all the time,
masculine all the time in the gym. Like we want to be with somebody who makes us feel very feminine. And so we have to almost find somebody that's hyper masculine to match our levels, to match our energy. And so that's kind of difficult to find a hyper masculine dude that's also like not a douche. So yeah, I know like when I was full on in my fight career, my love life was like terrible. It was so bad. So yeah, and just finding that balance between the energies was always a challenge. And yeah, I think the reason I say it was like a challenge early on in my career was also because I was in a serious relationship where I was like, okay, I thought this was going to be my husband. We were pretty much on the verge of getting engaged. I started fighting, and that was like presenting problems. So yeah, that was like right off the bat.
Dang, that's an interesting perspective to hear, because I feel like not a lot of people open up about or even think about like fighters' love lives, you know what I mean?
Oh, like, yeah. Well, I wanted to tell you like a different answer besides like, oh, early challenge was like, I don't know, like the workouts were, I don't know. Like,
no, I like that. That's cool. Interesting to think about.
It's real shit.
Yeah.
And even if you were to look at, I think this topic is really interesting, but if you were to look at a lot of the female fighters, they are either lesbians or they're dating their coach. If they're heterosexual, like they're dating one of their coaches. Or they're single and they have a dog. Like those are the three options pretty much. And I swear you're like, we're gonna fall into one of those three categories.
Yeah. That's funny. So there is a pretty viral video of you like early in your career knocking out that Karen lady. Like what was going through your head when you had to do that?
Oh my gosh, so that was my pro debut.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my pro debut, and so we call those those are the res fights.
Yeah.
Like it's out on the reservation, the Indian reservation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's like not sanctioned fights. It's the res fights.
Yeah.
And honestly, that location was always my favorite place to fight because it's super rootsy. It would be like if we set up a ring out here. And like, okay guys, like let's put on some fights.
Like street beefs.
Yeah. And so those are honestly my favorite places to fight at. But that opponent was a last minute replacement. And she wasn't like a trained fighter, obviously, but she was one of those like a backyard brawler, like that kind of fighter. And that fight was actually past midnight, I think. So we were waiting all freaking day. Finally, my fight comes up. So we were probably waiting for like a good 6 hours at that point. Like people had come to watch me fight. My family, some of my ohana had come up from Hawaii. So at that point, it was past midnight, and I was like, I just want to get the fuck out of here. Like I'm over this. And so the bell rang, and she freaking bum rushed me, and I just knocked her out. And it's so funny because people talk shit about that fight. It resurfaces every now and then. Yeah. And people are like, oh my gosh, that's so shame. Why did you fight her? And I was like, what am I supposed to do? Just like stand there and like let her
punch me?
Yeah. Like I don't know who she is, and she freaking rushed at me. But yeah, I love that fight. Yeah,
I remember the first time I seen that video, I was like, "Bruh, that girl gotta be from Hawaii." And then sure enough, your name popped up. I was like, "Bruh, that's classic."
Yeah, so that was my pro debut, and she wasn't a soccer mom. I know that's what the media dubbed her as. She wasn't a soccer mom. She was just, again, like one of those backyard brawlers that thought she could, get in the ring and throw down.
So how do you deal with like nerves or anxiety before a big fight?
I don't. I get nervous before everything. I mean, I guess I deal with it by looking at it, like reframing my perspective around it. So I reframe it as like nerves are a good thing, and that the day I'm not nervous is the day that I should stop fighting, because that just means, one, I don't give a shit. Yeah. And two, like I'm not excited about it. I just don't give a shit. Yeah. So
like you don't want to be there.
Yeah. And so I think nerves can be a good thing if you're able to like repurpose it. Recognize it, repurpose it, channel it into whatever you're doing. But I'm nervous as shit before my fights. I'm just like crying. There's a few fights where I'm freaking crying, like walking to the cage, and I'm just like, how did I get here? Why am I here? Why am I locked in this cage with this person right now? And then most oftentimes I kind of snap out of it when I get hit. Yeah.
Like wakes you up.
Yeah.
You're like, can't bet, time to go.
Yeah. That's why I think like everybody at some point in their life should get punched in the face.
Bruh, thank you. I feel like a lot of people grow up without getting punched in the face, so they think they can just like say whatever they want, and it's like you can definitely tell who hasn't been punched in the face.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
So what was like one of the toughest opponents you had to face, and did it teach you anything either about fighting or about yourself?
Oh, that's a good question. So I always say that my toughest opponent was this lady named Rebecca Ruth, and to this day that has been one of my hardest fights. It was actually my first fight that I was on the main card. So like I think I had 2 fights with Bellator that was on the prelims, so like, you know, nobody's watching. But then they were like, okay, this fight, you're going to be on the main card, so it's going to be televised. It was a super big card, and so and I had traveled. It was in St. Louis, Missouri, and so anyway, it was just like all these things. And then the opponent was this one lady who had she basically won a contract through Bellator because she won this like local promotion. So anyway, she was good.
Okay.
And I'm still feeling like a newbie. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna like fight this chick who's
like a seasoned vet.
Yeah, she was a veteran, and on the main card. And that fight week was crazy. We made it out to St. Louis, and my coach instantly has to go into the hospital.
Oh shit.
He ended up getting sepsis and like didn't know. And when we landed, he's like, I don't feel good. He had to go to the hospital, and was like literally fucking like had tubes in him and shit. And meanwhile, I'm back at the hotel like not only worrying about him, but I'm also cutting weight by myself. Yeah. At the same time, I had a boyfriend who I found out was cheating on me. I literally like found out the night before my fight that he was cheating on me. And I'm like outside walking on the street at like 2 a.m, like, fuck you, like going crazy. So it was just like all these crazy things happening. And then the fight comes, and we like first what's it called, like tie up, and this bitch is strong. She is like the strongest human that I've gone against. I'm like, fuck. And I remember after the first round, like all I just kept like tying her up and taking her down because she's like a really hard hitter. Yeah. So yeah, she didn't hit me once because I just kept, the game plan was just to fucking tie her up, work on the takedown. Yeah. But after that first round, I remember like going to my corner and I was like, I can't do this for another 2 rounds. Like she's too strong. I'm gonna gas out. And I'm just like kind of freaking out in my head, silently thinking this. And then the second round starts, and I end up like getting a really good takedown, which put me on her back, and I choked her out. Oh, mean. And so that was like, if you ever watch that clip, I'm like on her back, choking her out, and when she finally taps, then I just like fall off the back in slow motion, like, yeah. So yeah, that was honestly my hardest fight, because, you know, I'm still like early on into my career. I don't have that much experience. There was all these other outside factors and distractions happening. And I think what it taught me though about myself is like, you can find a way. No matter what, no matter the odds that are stacked against you or whatever, you can find a way if you're willing to. And also, don't fuck around with fuck boys, man. Like, fuck them. Yeah. Classic.
So how did it feel for you to finally become champ? And did you have a mindset shift versus pursuing the belt? Or actually like just defending it once you had it?
That's a good one. Yeah, actually, it was a lot harder to sustain and stay champ. It's a lot harder. The reason being is because like there's always going to be a target on your back, and you always feel like, okay, I was super hungry fighting for the belt when it was up for grabs. I was like super focused, super hungry, and that kind of focus is going to be what all my opponents want to. Like, they haven't tasted gold yet. And so they're going to be like...
lasered in.
Yeah, they're going to be freaking focused. And so, yeah, having to sustain that was a lot harder. I would say the mindset too was a big change for me also. Like, I had imposter syndrome for the longest time during my career, where I was just like, I'm not that good. You know, I'm a fraud. I shouldn't be here or whatever. And so having, like, I mean, like when I finally won the belt, I was just like, okay, yeah, no, I'm good. I can do this. Like, yeah. And to this day, I still kind of like have that a little bit of imposter syndrome. Like, you know, I'm really, but I also feel like I'm very honest. And I'm like, I'm not going to try to fake the funk and be like, oh yeah, I want to, you know, come out of retirement and go fight against the best in the world. I want the belt again. I'm like, nah, bitch, I'm in my 30s now. Like, I cannot sustain that level of training or dedication. Yeah, because it really is like a very selfish sport in the sense that yeah, you can't have any other distractions. I commend any fighter that has a family or that has babies that they have to take care of, or like, because yeah, it really is like you have to be dialed in if you are trying to reach, you know, the upper echelon of fighting.
Yeah, facts. So like, I know a lot of fighters from Hawaii like move away to reach the upper echelon. What are some of the biggest challenges for fighters or athletes that want to do it from here?
The biggest challenge is exposure. And logistic. Well, we'll start with exposure, because not a lot of promotions on the continent are gonna want, especially when you're an amateur, when you're just starting out in the sport, when you're trying to like build your record, build your name. Not a lot of promotions are gonna want to spend the money to fly you and your corner up to the continent to, you know, fight as an amateur. And, you know, like, probably not going to be able to sell tickets because nobody knows you up there. So a lot of times I see fighters not getting the opportunity to fight on cards, and it's like almost like, yeah, they feel forced to move up to the continent just so that they can get their foot in the door with like local promotions, or just to get the experience. Because we all know everybody here in Hawaii can fight. Like, honestly, we have probably the highest level of fighters. Average Joe kind, that per capita and everything. We have the highest percentage of like really freaking good fighters, but there's not that many local shows around here. I know it used to be big, but now it's just hard. So fighters aren't able to get, again, and this is like amateur level, they're not able to get the experience and they're not able to get the exposure. So I would say that's probably the biggest issue that I see. There is no shortage of quality ass training here in Hawaii. Like I said, Hawaii has the best fighters, they have the best trainers, the best coaches. It's literally just like the fights, the promotions themselves. And that's why it was such a big deal that Bellator was like, okay, no, we're gonna come and we're gonna do a card in Hawaii. Because it was a moment, it was a chance for our Hawaii fighters to like get that exposure on in a big promotion under the big lights. So that was super dope. But that's why I always open up my home in San Diego to any local fighter that's like, hey, do you guys want to come up here? You guys can stay at my house. There's some promotions that, you know, we can try to get you into. Just stay with me so that you can save on money and everything. And, you know, I try to work with fighters because I know how it is, like not being able to get any fights, or like the cost of just the freaking airlines ticket, you know, is nuts. So yeah, that's kind of one way that I feel like I can help local fighters is to help them just get their foot in the door and give them a place to stay in California, a place to train, so that they can hopefully get a fight on one of the local shows.
Yeah, cherry. Is there like any tolls that fighting had on your body? Like once you, or like what are like some of the biggest injuries you still have?
Oh yeah, yep, for sure. Well, I don't know if you can see my scar.
Oh, okay.
I'll like show it to the cameras.
It's not a hickey. No, no.
Yeah. I had a major neck surgery about a year ago. It was anterior cervical, I don't know, some whatever. Basically, I have metal plates in my neck.
Oh.
And this was from a fight. It was actually one of my Hawaiʻi fights a few years ago that I landed on my neck in like the first minute of the fight.
Ooh.
She took me down, and I had just come back from surgery on my knee. So I had been out for a year, had surgery on my knee. This was my comeback fight. I was like all pumped up for it. And then the first minute of the fight, she tries to take me down, and we freaking land like on my neck. My whole left side goes numb. Ooh. So I'm like not able to use my left hand for the rest of the fight. And since then, it just has like progressively gotten worse. So I finally, after my last fight, I was like, okay, I need to get this fixed, because it was just impacting my everyday life. It wasn't just me training. It was literally just like driving, I would start seizing up. So I got the surgery. So happy I did that. Life-changing. But that was a major one. My knee has always been an issue. I think I've had like 4 surgeries on it now. Oof. But it started in high school.
Okay.
That's I tore my ACL in high school, had to get 2 surgeries, then progressively or periodically would like re-injure it during my MMA career. Yeah. So I would say those 2 things are the biggest things, which is actually super minor.
But still, owie.
Yeah. I'm like considering the injuries that I've seen other fighters sustain, like minor. And also the most important thing to me is my brain health. Yeah. Yeah. And that's like something that's a little bit more, it's unseen, you know, like it's easy to see my injuries in my body, physically. Or you'll see me like limping, you know, but your brain, man, like that is to me the saddest thing with a lot of fighters that we see, where like their brain is not working, you know, and that's one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to get out of the fight game sooner than later. Is like to protect my head, because I mean, I joke about it, that I'm terrible at remembering names and everything, but I'm like, fuck, is it because I'm getting hit in the head, or like...
Yeah.
What?
So, you'd say that pretty much helped you decide to retire?
Yeah. And then also another thing that's like a little bit more unseen, especially for women, is the weight cuts fuck us up. Okay. Like, our reproductive systems get pretty, it's unhealthy, honestly. And actually a lot of fighters can attest to this, even the guys, that the weight cuts are fucking up our endocrine systems, our reproductive systems, especially for women. And I know a lot of female fighters, and myself included, who are now on fertility journeys, and we have to like go to fertility specialists because it's really difficult for us to conceive. And I know a lot of women go through that, so I'm not sure if it's just like specific to those of us who fight, but I know a freaking shit ton of fighters who are like, you know, we have to do IVF because pretty sure, and I don't think there have been any actual scientific studies, but I'm pretty positive that the weight cuts that we've done throughout our careers has impacted our internal systems.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Because it's like, basically like, you're almost bringing yourself to the verge of death every time. And like, I don't know, that can't be good for you.
Yeah, and it's like no secret that a lot of times when we are doing like a super high level of training, a lot of us don't get our moon during camp. You know, a lot of us are like, our systems always get messed up. Like I can remember that my cycle would always get fucked up after a fight because of the weight cut, because of the stress, everything. So yeah, I haven't looked for the scientific data or like research on it, but I know it has to exist because a lot of high level athletes go through this, you know, like our cycles getting fucked up when we're doing such hardcore training.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Guarantee people are like studying it now though. So after you retired, I know you started a nonprofit or you do nonprofit work now. Could you tell us a little bit about your Na Wahine Toa project?
Yeah. So I actually started working with nonprofits when I won the belt in 2017. And at first it started with like, I really liked working with Native communities and Native youth. So I was partnering with Native Like Water. They are a nonprofit based out of San Diego. They put on like cultural enrichment programs for Native youth. And so that's, you know, Mark Chavez, he's the founder. He was kind of like my mentor through everything. And he was the one that actually planted the seed for Na Wahine Toa.
Okay.
Because he was like, you know, I don't know what your plans are for after fighting, but you know, I want you to think about like, what do you want to leave behind? What do you want your legacy to be? He was like, I really do think that working with Native women and girls is what you should do. He's like, you know, we don't have a lot of Native female fighters out there to look up to or like role models. So he's like, you know, all of the girls that you've worked with so far are like, you know, they love seeing a strong Native female like doing the things. So I was like, I never really thought about that before. Like, what do I want my legacy to be? So anyway, shout out to Mark for planting that seed. And right around the same time, I started becoming aware of the MMIW crisis. And so MMIW stands for Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women. And it's an epidemic that started in Turtle Island, or at least the movement started in Turtle Island to bring awareness to it. But it's literally, what it comes down to is that Native women and girls around the world, not just in the continent, not just here in Hawaii, but literally around the world, Native women and girls face the highest rates of violence out of any demographic. And once I learned that, then I'm just like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to work with Native women. I'm going to teach them how to fight back, like literally teach them how to fight back, teach them how to protect themselves, teach self-defense workshops, and provide like a space for us to build pilina, build a sisterhood together, and like basically fight back against the patriarchy. So that's how I started Na Wahine Toa. And that's what this next chapter of my life is all about post-fighting. That's what I really want to focus on, and that's like my new fight outside of the cage.
Beautiful. So what were like what kind of, I guess, like when you had the idea for your nonprofit, like did you instantly know you wanted to do like scholarship stuff, or was that kind of like an idea that you found out after?
So it actually started with the scholarship first, before I even started doing self-defense workshops.
Oh, mean.
Yeah, and the story behind that was I was with Mark, and we were actually in Panama. I was part of a program. It was like a cultural exchange out in Panama, and so we spent time with some of the tribes out there. And when we were visiting one of the villages, then Mark had said, oh, you know, I really wanted the chief's daughter to be able to attend one of our programs in San Diego, but she just hasn't been able to afford it, like the flights. And I was like, well, how much would the flight be? How much would it cost to send her to the program? And when he told me, then I was like, okay, well, how about this? How about if I ever fight for a belt and I win the belt, like I will sponsor her to attend one of your programs.
Spoke it into existence.
Yeah. And it was kind of nuts because we were out in the jungle, so that we didn't have any reception or anything, or cell phone service. And when we got back into town, then my phone starts ringing and it's my manager. And he's like, hey, I got some good news. Bellator just called and they want you to fight for the belt. So I'm like, oh shit, okay, cool. Like the stars are aligning, awesome. And I fought, I won, and I hit up Mark and was like, all right, let's send her to the program. And so that was kind of how it started. Like, okay, well, he's like, well, why don't we call it a scholarship? We'll call it the Ilima-Nator Scholarship. It'll be for Native girls. And, you know, so that was how the scholarship started, which led to the nonprofit, which led to, okay, let me start putting on these self-defense workshops, which led to like, the more I started researching violence against women and Native girls in particular, the more I realized that, like, yes, stranger danger is a totally real thing. Like, yeah, we need to watch our backs when we're walking down the street or, you know, but majority of violence against women is perpetrated by somebody that they know. And so that means it could be a family member, an acquaintance. More often than not, it's a romantic partner. It's their, you know, domestic partner. And so it's like, okay, well, yeah, I can teach you all the self-defense that I know, but it's deeper than that. It's like, why are we accepting this kind of treatment from people that supposedly love us? Exactly. Why are we not providing safe spaces for women, or even like our keiki, to come and tell us what's happening to them? You know, why are we not supporting our kane to treat women better? And so that's when I was like, okay, well, I want to put together a retreat and a place where, like, yeah, we can like come together as a sisterhood and provide those spaces for us to share our stories and do it in a safe place and a place where we feel supported and seen. And so that's when I started doing the retreats. And then this was kind of on accident, but my nonprofit also has done disaster relief. And the reason I say it was on accident was because this was the Lahaina fires. And I had started a fundraiser, and this was just for like, hey, I'm going to send supplies, I'm going to send gas to whoever needs. And it ended up freaking going viral overnight. Something that I thought was only going to raise maybe a couple $1,000. Freaking raised like a couple $1 million. And I'm like, holy shit, this is too much. Like, but that's how we started getting into disaster relief. And one issue that's unspoken about when it comes to disasters and emergency relief is that women are the most impacted when it comes to this. And so I really wanted to make sure that the families that I were helping, that I was sending the money to the woman, to the mom or the wife, you know, to make sure that like they were being taken care of, and they're the ones that were holding it down. And so that was kind of like my focus for the Maui fires. And so anyway, that was when my nonprofit kind of expanded into the disaster emergency relief area. I don't think that's going to be a focus for us moving forward, especially after our experience with that whole shit. It was like a lot, you know? And I think that there are other organizations that are better equipped to handle that kind of stuff, but it was a super good learning experience.
Yeah.
I don't regret it. Honestly, it forced us to like get our shit together and to take our nonprofit to the next level. And honestly, it even forced me to really look at, like, I realized that fighting is not because that was happening right when I was preparing for the title fight.
Yeah.
And honestly, it made me just like reflect and look back at everything and just be like, dude, fighting ain't shit. Like, fighting doesn't mean anything. It's like, this is where my kuleana lies. It's with Hawaiʻi.
It's bigger than fighting.
Yes. Yeah. And that's when I was like, I basically decided like that I'm probably I'm gonna leave fighting, and I want this to be my mission.
Mean. Well, what would you say was the highlight of your journey?
The highlight of my journey was, for sure, okay, if it was like one specific moment or event, it was for sure the first Bellator Hawaii. That was when I fought Valerie Letourneau. I was defending the belt, and it was just the most epic night of my life. It was the first time that I had done a walkout where I like represented my Hawaiian culture. Yeah. I had the kia'i up on stage with me. It was just badass. It was just such a freaking badass moment to be able to share a little bit of Hawaiian culture, Hawaiian pride with a national audience. Yeah. Like, so many people came up to me and was just like, I've been in this industry for, 20 plus years. That was by far the freaking craziest moment like I've ever experienced. And what I'm talking about specifically is the walkout. It's like when we started chanting Iku Momo, and then like the crowd's responding, and everybody that's not from Hawaii is like, what the fuck? Holy shit. And then on top of that, thank you, Jesus, that I freaking won, because that would have sucked having that whole ass walkout and like all the hype and all the build up to lose, right? So like, thank you, I won. And it was a pretty cool finish. It was a triangle finish. And so just that whole night was insane. Big time.
Yeah, I remember that. That was big time. So one question I like to ask everybody, because everybody has their own definition. What does aloha mean to you?
What does aloha mean to me? I think aloha to me means authenticity, and it means balance. And what I mean by that is that, like, I feel like aloha, the word aloha has kind of been co-opted. It's been appropriated. Now it's just kind of like lost its meaning. And so I don't want to say like, oh, aloha spirit. Like, oh, it means just like, oh, you spread the aloha and you love everyone. Like, nah. It's actually being real. It's being authentic. It's like, also like, just, not being watered down. Like, we're so used to it these days. And I think authenticity and being real and being honest and telling the truth is a lot more, that's real aloha. It's like, even when you're like talking to a friend or somebody you're in community with, like, there's no aloha in not telling them the truth and not being real with them and being like, checking them, holding them accountable. There's no aloha in that. Real aloha is accountability and doing what's hard. You might not want to do it. It might be hard, but like, that's where the real aloha is. I feel like I'm kind of rambling on this a little bit. I don't know if it's making sense, but I get it. Aloha is like being real and being raw, and not this like watered down shit that we're used to, like aloha spirit. What's the one that's like, aloha also means goodbye or something.
Yeah. Aloha means hello, but it also means goodbye.
Yeah, I think
I see that sticker everywhere.
Yeah. I err more on that side of things. Like, aloha is doing hard things.
Man, well, I mahalo you for the aloha you had during this interview, and yeah, I look forward to our next hui sesh or whatever, tough story sesh. I appreciate your time and your mana'o. And yeah, thanks for coming out here today.
Mahalo for having me, and I'll come and do a work day with you when I come back home.
For sure.
Yeah.
I can always use the free labor.
Yes.